Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Please turn your attention to the screen for a short video to start the 2026 Indo-Pacific Energy Security Ministerial and Business Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Akiko Nakaya, our MC for the 2026 Indo-Pacific Energy Security Ministerial and Business Forum.
Good morning and welcome to the 2026 Indo-Pacific Energy Security Ministerial and Business Forum. My name is Akiko Nakaya, serving as your MC. I'd like to welcome all our distinguished guests here in person and also those live streaming from around the world. To our person in attendees, please wear your credentials at all times. It acts as your entry pass to the forum and breakout sessions. To ensure you have the most up-to-date information and agenda, please scan the QR code on the back of your credentials. It'll take you directly to the forum agenda page on the website where you will find all the information for session times, locations, and speakers. If you'd like to Wi-Fi access, please use network Hilton Honors and code IPEM 2026. Now, to kick off those exciting 2 days of conversation, it's my great pleasure to introduce Thomas R. Hardy. Mr. Hardy serves as the Deputy Director and Chief Operating Officer of the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, performing the duties and responsibilities of the agency's director. He leads the agency's global efforts to advance high-quality infrastructure projects that strengthen U.S. national security, creates export opportunities for U.S. goods and services, and support U.S. job creation. USTDA is the U.S. government's first mover on critical infrastructure development abroad, advancing the shared strategic priorities of the U.S. and its overseas partners by deploying U.S. technological expertise. He was previously appointed by President Trump to serve as the USTDA's acting director from 2017 to 2020, where he helped transform the agencies to meet the demands of the rapidly evolving global environment. Mr. Hardy has also held multiple leadership positions at the agency, including directors of policy and program management, chief of staff and country manager of the East Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa regions. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Hardy to the stage.
Good morning and welcome to Tokyo. I want to begin by thanking our co-hosts for this next 2 days, the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry here from Japan, and the U.S. National Energy Dominance Council being led by Secretary Burgum, who you will hear from shortly. It is an honor to welcome heads of state, ministers, CEOs, and business leaders from across the Indo-Pacific region for this dynamic 2-day program. The Indo-Pacific is expected to see some of the fastest growth in energy demand anywhere in the world, making reliable energy a defining issue for both economic growth and our national securities. Energy security is more than just economic security. It's national security. and the United States is committed to support our partners and allies across the region to ensure greater energy security within our economies. Working together, we'll unlock investment and build resilient supply chains while ensuring the region's energy future is built on trusted partnerships, transparent markets, and secure infrastructure. This forum reflects the United States' commitment to working with our partners across the Indo-Pacific region on our shared energy security priorities. The United States is bringing a whole-of-government approach to this forum, led by Secretary Burgum, with leaders from the State Department, Department of Interior, Department of State, the Export-Import Bank, and the U.S. Trade and Development Agency. A central feature of IPEM is the partnership between government and private sector. Energy companies, infrastructure developers, financiers, and technology leaders are here because private sector investment will power the solutions we need to power business and provide energy for our people. Over the next 2 days, the forum will serve as a platform to announce and advance major energy investments, partnership, and commercial deals. As the U.S. government's first mover on infrastructure development, USTDA is proud to sponsor this forum. Our mission is simple: to accelerate the development of infrastructure projects by funding the early stage project preparation that is needed to attract financing for infrastructure projects in emerging markets around the world. We transform ideas into bankable, real-world energy projects, and we look forward to hearing your ideas in the coming days. The Indo-Pacific energy future will be shaped by the partnerships that are made here this week. Together, we have an opportunity to deliver reliable and affordable power to industry and our people that will drive prosperity and shared economic growth for everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us here in Tokyo for the Indo-Pacific Energy Security Ministerial and Business Forum. It's now my pleasure to introduce one of our co-hosts from the Government of Japan, the Honorable Akasawa-san, Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry. Minister Akasawa-san has served as the Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry since October 2025. Prior to his current role, he served as Minister in charge of Economic Revitalization and the Minister of State and Economic and Fiscal Policy. It is my pleasure to introduce and welcome Minister Akasawa-san.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining the Indo-Pacific Energy Security Ministerial and Business Forum. I am Ryosei Akazawa, Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Japan, but I suppose far better known as Minister in charge of Tariff. Right, thank you, Chief Tariff Negotiator. It is an honor for Japan to co-host this event with the United States, led by Mr. Burgum, Secretary of the Interior, and Mr. Zeldin, Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. I thank all leaders and ministers who have traveled a long way to Tokyo. Amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, the critical route for global oil and LNG trade, has been severely affected. The risk of tight supply and surging prices of energy can directly affect our economies and daily lives. Asia imports more than 80% of the crude oil that passes through this strait. We therefore may suffer from severe impact. Today's forum brings together distinguished heads of states, energy ministers, and business leaders from both energy-producing and energy-consuming countries across the region. The forum provides a perfect platform for all of us to jointly identify issues and work on practical solutions to the unprecedented challenge to energy security. We, the directly affected region, have an important role in sending a clear message to the world that we are effectively responding to the challenge and making best efforts to stabilize energy markets. In some Asian countries, long queues have formed at gas stations as people seek scarce fuel. Exports of oil products have stopped. Japan, too, relies on the strait for more than 90% of our crude oil imports. To protect the daily lives of our people and economic activity from potential risks, the government of Japan has been taking proactive measures. We decided to release our oil reserves to fill our supply gap and support global market stability. Furthermore, I discussed the matter with the Executive Director of the International Energy Agency and participated in the G7 Energy Ministers meeting. I emphasized the severe impact in Asia and stressed the need for a collective action at global scale. Working jointly with the United States, we led the discussion in the G7 and IEA, which resulted in the largest collective oil stock release in its history, amounting 400 million barrels. Likewise, I'm sure that the leaders from both energy-producing and energy-consuming countries gathering today are vigorously making their own efforts. Our task here is to bring our initiative together and transform them into a collective and powerful response to stabilize global energy markets. We can achieve this in this forum. Let's broaden our horizon beyond immediate emergency measures. The long-term and strategic choices we make today on how we develop resilient energy systems and supply chains will shape the Indo-Pacific region's energy security for decades to come. The Indo-Pacific region is the engine of global economic growth. Energy demand will increase substantially. Along with our economic growth, digitalization, AI transformation, and spreading air conditioners. Building abundant, affordable, clean, and resilient energy supply system is crucial to meet the robust demand. Working closely with the United States, Japan will bring solutions and contribute to strengthening energy security throughout the region. I'd like to highlight 4 key concepts in navigating this journey. First is diversification. The lessons learned from the case in the Strait is that overdependence on single solution, whether on energy source, supplier, transport route, or supply chain, will make us weak. Diversification has always been and will remain central to energy security. In the Indo-Pacific region, where energy demand will grow significantly, we must build a diversified energy system and achieve the triple breakthrough of economic growth, energy security, and clean energy. The second is abundant energy. Energy demand will contribute to rise with the expansion of AI and data centers. A stable supply of abundant energy is indispensable. In this regard, the United States, the world's largest energy producer, has shown a firm commitment to unleash their energy abundance to Asia. Japan truly welcomes such commitment that brings great reassurance to our markets. Third is energy technology. Japan is a department store of energy technologies, possessing full spectrum of energy technologies and innovations. Japan and the United States have jointly worked on a wide range of energy projects, such as LNG, nuclear, power grids, geothermal energy, and more. By sharing these technologies and experience across Asia, we can help strengthen regional energy security together. Fourth is finance. As energy infrastructure continues to expand across the Indo-Pacific, the region's finance needs will grow substantially. One challenge is that certain sectors, such as nuclear and LNG, require large-scale investment with long payback periods, making it difficult for private actors alone to commit. It is therefore essential that public and international financial institutions step up to meet the growing finance needs. I am encouraged that the World Bank, JBIC, and US Exim are participating in this forum. I look forward to active discussions about the important role of the public sector. You have all gathered from East and West today, here in Tokyo. Japan serves as the connecting hub between the United States and the Asian region. As a trusted partner, Japan has worked closely with our friends in the United States and across Asia to build resilient and prosperous economy and society. We will keep contributing to regional and global energy security by providing our technology, finance, and human resources. I hope that this forum will lead to many concrete ideas, actions, and projects. I wish all participants a highly productive and rewarding time here. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Akazawa-san. Let me take a point of personal privilege and welcome the Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin, who is a member of President Trump's cabinet and a key member of the National Energy Dominance Council. So sorry for leaving you off the list, but thank you very much for joining us, Administrator Zeldin. It's now my pleasure to introduce Secretary Doug Burgum, the 55th Secretary of the Department of Energy and the Chair of the National Energy Dominance Council. He's a former two-term governor of the great state of North Dakota. He has an illustrious career in technology, investor investing. And in his role as the chair of the National Energy Dominance Council, he leads efforts to expand domestic energy and mineral production, speed up federal permitting, and leverage public lands for economic development. Secretary Burgum, it's a pleasure. Thank you for leading the U.S. delegation to the IPEM Forum. And it's a pleasure to welcome you on the stage this morning. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, let's try that again. Good morning. Hey, great to have you all here, and I want to lead with gratitude. Let me start with Tom. Thanks for the nice introduction, but thanks for everybody at your organization for pulling this together. You just acknowledged my fellow cabinet member, Lee Zeldin, who's doing, he's going to be closing out today with remarks, but doing the greatest amount of smart and capable deregulation ever conducted, I think, ever in the history of the country. So make sure you stick around for that, helping accelerate your investments in a productive way. So greatly appreciate, Lee, you being here, but appreciate the work you and your team are doing. Amazing stuff. And then, of course, in the audience, we have representatives from 17 different countries that are here. We also have the presidents of 3 of our COFA states. This is the Compact of Free Association. We got Palau, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, the Federated States of Micronesia. But let's, for all of the folks that are officials, if you're an official from another country, could you just stand up, please? And whether you're a president, a minister, a staff person, you're one of those 17 countries? What, you're all lobbyists? What? No, come on. No, stand up. There's more than 2 people here. Come on, stand up. Don't be bashful. Don't be bashful if you're here. But anyway, thank you for being here for the ministerial part of this, and appreciate everything that all of you are doing. So gratitude to you. And then Minister Akazawa, thank you for kicking things off this morning. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the incredible partnership. I want to thank our Ambassador Glass is here. Ambassador of the U.S. doing a fantastic job. Give him a hand. And across the team that we have, for Lee and I leading this delegation, it's so fantastic. But in addition to USTA, we've got folks, a bunch of great leaders here from the Department of Energy, including 2 Assistant Secretaries, Housefite and Robertson. They're here. You're going to hear from them. A bunch of folks from DOI. Jared Agan, who's the Executive Director of the National Energy Dominance Council inside the White House, is here, and his team. We got the Chairman, John Janovich of the XM Bank, which is a key piece that's here, Development Finance Corporation. We got folks from State, from Commerce. We've got folks from the National Security Council, and many more, I'm sure. But we're here, as was said by Tom in the first introduction, it's the whole of government. Prior U.S. administrations had used the whole of government to try to shut down energy that was reliable, affordable, and secure. The team that's here is to try to make sure that we can achieve, the simplest way to describe energy dominance is that we have energy to allow for prosperity at home, and that we have the ability to sell energy to our friends and allies like all of you across the Pacific, so that you don't have to buy it from adversaries. And maybe they're not an adversary, but maybe you have an alternative source of supply where you've got a secure source of supply that can't be interrupted by a terrorist regime. So that's the whole point. This conference was set up months ago. It was conceived, last year. We held a similar one 2 weeks ago in Washington, D.C., interestingly, at the new Board of Peace building in Washington, D.C. We had over 20 countries. And who were the folks that were the most prominently there? All the leaders and the ministers from Eastern Europe were there. Because these are folks that understand. They're in the front lines of what it's like to not have energy security when they were all dependent on buying gas from Russia, and then Russia cut them off. So, again, America has an opportunity working with all of our allies to create a more prosperous world and a more secure world if we're together. And that's just not on liquid fuels like oil and gas, but as we work together on technologies to produce more electricity, which we need because we're entering an era where we need more, not less. And then also, nuclear. There's President Trump last year signed 4 executive orders, and during that, we've accelerated the flow of technology investment into nuclear like we haven't seen in decades in our country, and unleashing all kinds of innovation around small modular nuclear. I know we've got breakouts on that. Also, before the recent tensions in the Middle East, everybody in this room, understood the threat we were under from having a single country control 85 to 100% of the processing of the rare earth and critical minerals that are needed if you arrived at this conference, you were using rare earth minerals because you've got a cell phone, you flew on a plane, you probably drove in a car, you stayed in a hotel. It's so embedded in our economy today that even though we just took it for granted, we're touching these every day. And again, in the same way, whether it's a geographic strait in the Middle East or whether it's a control of supply, for us to achieve the full potential on this planet, we've got to have reliable, affordable, and secure, meaning from partners you trust that can deliver and not hold you literally hostage economically around any of these elements. So this is the energy dominance approach that President Trump is taking, and thank goodness we have a leader in President Trump who understands that you cannot separate energy policy from economic security, and you can't separate it from national security. So that's the top line. But I would say again, we gather it today at a timely and profound moment. It's a moment of importance, perhaps in world history, and we're at the cusp of an incredible transformation. And global energy markets certainly today are being stressed by these large global events, but that makes it even more important that we have the discussions, the dialogues that we're having here today, and not just a dialogue, but we actually translate those dialogues into deals, that there's investments that are being made, partnerships being formed, commitments, because you can't have energy without infrastructure, you can't develop energy without investment, and so this is an opportunity to actually move from talk to action, and some of that action is going to happen because we'll be announcing a number of really significant deals at this conference as well. Let me spend a minute just on AI. It's sort of being buried under the news of the conflict in the Middle East. But when our administration took over, the Trump administration, there was one thing that was on the top of the list, and that was to make sure that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. It's one thing for countries to have nuclear weapons. It's another one to have one that's held by a regime that would absolutely use that nuclear weapon. against their stated enemies, and that is something that we just couldn't have happen. And so obviously been working on that since last June. But separate from that, there was a secondary one, which is in a world of AI, to have one country control all the AI is also a threat to the free world. And so winning the AI arms race is something that we're committed to doing. And you can have the best chips, you can have the best software, you can have all of those things, but this is a race of power generation. And this required in the United States, and it's going to require in some other countries as well, certainly some well-known ones in Europe, that have to do a 180-degree turn, because we were in this era of I'll call it climate fantasy, and I don't mean that in a pejorative or ideologic way, but if you're selling all your citizens and the idea about it using the word transition, that would imply that we have something A and we're going to move to B, and those are going to be equivalent. But don't worry, B is going to be cleaner and cheaper. And it turns out that and there's an assumption that when you go from A to B, you're still going to have the same amount of power. The reality, energy reality, which is what Lee and I and Chris Wright and everybody like to talk about, energy reality is the whole thing that was foisted on the world around transition was actually energy subtraction. Taking reliable, affordable, and secure energy and replacing it with intermittent, weather-dependent, foreign-sourced, unreliable, and redundant, because you have to keep all the other stuff you had before on the times of the day when the wind is not blowing and the sun is not shining. You have to keep the other stuff. You can't shut it down. You have to have both of those redundancies for those moments not working. So it turns out it's not reliable, it's not secure, and it's not affordable. I mean, just take a look. I'll just share facts. I'm not picking on our friends from Germany, but I think it's well known that in Europe they were the leader in trying to achieve this energy transition, and they spent close to $500 billion, $500 billion on a transition. And they transitioned to a situation where they produce 20% electricity than they did before, and that's 20% less when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing. So it's 20% less in good conditions, and then the electricity costs 3 times as much. Now, I said I was going to talk about AI, and you're like, oh, you haven't talked about that much yet. AI, it's amazing. We stand here in a place like this, and we go like, wow, look at these lights on the stage. Look at the fact that, the homes we heat, the food we cook. I mean, electricity, thank you, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison, and everybody that came along, Tesla, anybody else along the way that was involved in harnessing and powering electricity. It was a miracle transformation for our planet to be able to generate electricity. But now, for the first time in human history, that we are able to take electricity and not turn it into light or heat. We can turn it into intelligence. Everybody talks about data centers. They're not a data center in the traditional sense that we've had data centers for decades. Closed-loop systems that maybe would manage transactions between a customer and a company, and that was it. But this is GPT. This is general purpose technology. If you're taking electricity and turning it into intelligence, it can be used by anybody. It can be used by defense. It can be used by universities. You could use to have a tutor for every school child in your country. You could cure cancer. It is all these things. It's going to be, software has always been the greatest extension of human capability, and now we have a situation where it is going to move at a speed, and it's moving at a speed that it's hard for anyone to comprehend. I spent 30 years in tech before I ever thought about getting into public service, and during that time, I watched companies, fail to keep up because they couldn't keep up with Moore's law. They couldn't keep up with something that was well understood, that chips were going to get twice as fast every 18 months and produce products at half the cost. I mean, that produces an exponential curve. I mean, there were companies there was, and one famously, Kodak. They used to have commercials called the Kodak moment. It meant that they took the perfect picture, their memory for you and your family for years. It was a Kodak moment. Well, then their leadership had a Kodak moment because they completely even though they helped invent digital photography, they completely underestimated the speed at which it would advance under Moore's law. And you take one of the most iconic brands, best-known brands in the world, one of the largest top 30 market cap companies in the world at one time, and then they disappeared. And this will happen again in the world of AI, If leaders and countries and companies don't understand, we have people around the world right now that are, including in the United States, that are wanting to ban. They're wanting to ban having AI factories, intelligent factories, in their jurisdiction. This would be like saying, I don't want to have 1 million geniuses move into my neighborhood who are going to pay a lot of property taxes, and are going to help solve every problem we've ever had. But again, there's an undercurrent in free democracies, and I can say with great certainty that part of this is when we're in a global power competition, there are people that don't want us to build AI factories. There are people that will spread misinformation around that. But the one thing for certain we do need more power, and if we don't generate energy addition is what we need, not energy transition, because transition always meant subtraction. Energy addition is what we need. That's part of what this conference is about. We're here to cut deals, work with each other, share technologies, learn from the speakers, and figure out a way to get more energy going in all of our countries, amongst our friends and allies. That's the way we win the AI arms race. That's the way we defeat people that have choke points, geographic choke points, that try to control the world's economy. A small group of terrorists controlling the world's economy, not acceptable. The rest of the world can band together at places like this. So part of my gratitude was to say thank you to all of you for being here, because your presence absolutely, positively matters. And this forum matters because no country can thrive without abundant, reliable, and affordable power. And we're here as the United States to be that reliable, affordable, and secure partner for you. I'm reminded when I think about Japan, and here we are in Japan. It's 120 million people in a space about twice the size of my home state of North Dakota, which is an energy powerhouse as a small state. But in the small state that we have, producing, before Biden came along, almost 1.5 million barrels of oil a day, and exporting lots of electricity to all of our neighbors. Alaska, in the Cook Inlet, started shipping LNG to Japan over 50 years ago. There's never been a time, a month, a day, a week when that supply route, which goes down the Aleutian Islands towards Japan, has ever been interrupted. The United States of America has the ability to deliver freedom of navigation and free supplies to folks. And we are one of the things we're doing under President Trump. Lee was up there with me, with Secretary Wright. We are unleashing the power of Alaska, the Alaska LNG pipeline, and other projects that are going on, expanded Alaska oil development. The Department of Interior has been working day and night with the state of Alaska, with EPA, the Department of Energy, and many others to make sure that we can take full advantage of the incredible energy resources in Alaska to supply that to all of you. And it's not just Japan, it's Korea, it's Thailand, it's the Philippines, it's Taiwan. It's all of the countries that are important partners to us here, but it's also, again, in the audience today, and we'll be stopping at one on the way back. We stopped at Alaska on the way over. We're stopping at Hawaii on the way back. We're also stopping in Guam, where we have a large military presence. It's unacceptable to the United States that we would have our friends and neighbors, think of South Korea as a strategic key military partner. If they've got energy security issues, that means we've got energy security issues because of our military partnership that we've had with them that also goes back almost 70 years. So we can't have our own territories, our own citizens, or our COFA states or our own states like Hawaii be dependent on imported foreign oil from the Middle East. That's the case right now. That is absolutely the case. And so part of energy dominance is making sure that we don't take our eyes off the Pacific allies, which are so important. This region of the world is absolutely so important. One other thing I want to say too is that how we ended up in this position in our country and perhaps in others was when we said, hey, we're going to stop doing mining. We're going to stop doing oil and gas development. We're going to stop doing all this stuff because we're concerned about the environment. The net effect of that, of course, was that all of this activity moved to places that did not have an EPA, didn't have child labor laws, didn't care about the environment. So again, for everybody that anybody that has a concern, or you're your children, your grandchildren, everybody else. I mean, I think one thing they need to know about the United States is that when we do it in the United States, we do it cleaner, safer, smarter than anywhere else in the world. It's a message we're trying to get out to our own citizens, which is if we are the world's largest producer of energy, that is also going to be the best outcome for the environment, and you can count on that. So in closing, I just want to say a couple things on a call to action, which is again, we have an opportunity over the next 2 days to advance historic cooperation around whether it's LNG, grid and port infrastructure, critical mineral development, ensuring the free flow of energy across vital sea lanes, and we've got really no time to waste. I'm excited to watch so many deals that are being signed. Some are already starting to happen. Congratulations, I'll say, to Venture Global last night announcing at the beginning of this conference an $8.6 billion expansion on their LNG. Their leadership team is here today. Anyway, this is just the beginning of a number of things that are going to again help benefit the Pacific, because part of their they were a key part, along with we got Woodside, we have Cheniere, we have all of our top LNG exports. These folks got together after Biden had banned LNG exports, and then President Trump lifted that ban. Some of these companies were on track to spend over $20 billion in a short amount of time, providing most of the increase in capacity, and we have effectively displaced 2/3 of the Russian gas in all of Western Europe because of the speed and innovation at which U.S. companies are moving to provide reliable, secure, and affordable energy to our allies. In that kind of movement, by doing that, bringing on that marginal capacity, probably saved Europe 20, 30 billion. I'm just spitballing on that one. Let's get an economist to figure it out. But when you increase the supply and put it out there, it saves your citizens money. It increases your security. We know that energy diplomacy backed up by energy dominance will benefit the prosperity of everybody in your country. That's why these deals are important. It's not just economics. It's about human flourishing. It's about helping everybody reach their potential, which they can't if they don't have access to great energy. So American energy, it will remain, your most dependable, most responsible, and most strategic choice as we advance peace and prosperity together for all nations. We're grateful to have you all here, excited to be spending time with you, and excited to be witness to deals that are getting done here, and then also in the future knowing that deals started here because of the relationships you've made. So I would challenge all of you, if you're not on stage signing a deal, there are people in the room that probably would want to sign one with you. So get ready to make sure that you're talking to somebody more than the people you came with, because this is a group of people here that can really change the direction of energy in the entire Indo-Pacific area. That's my challenge to all of you. Let's go out, let's get it done, and let's do it for all of the people that we work for. Let's do it for the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hardy, Minister Akazawa, and Secretary Bergren. Now, I know all the distinguished guests in government and private sector are very excited to be part of this wonderful opportunity for productive interaction among trusted allies. So let's get started. Our first plenary panel will focus on reliable energy for Indo-Pacific growth and security, and will examine how reliable, dispatchable energy underpins economic growth, technological leadership, and national security across the Indo-Pacific region. And now we have all the panelists and our moderator, Audrey Robertson, Assistant Secretary at the United States Department of Energy. Ms. Robertson leads the Department of Energy Office of Critical Minerals and Energy Innovation, where she oversees one of the largest energy research and development portfolios in the United States. So, Assistant Secretary Robertson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for being here. My name is Audrey Robertson. I'm the Assistant Secretary of Energy. That was a nice, warm introduction. I'm honored to help kick off the discussion at the Indo-Pacific Energy Ministerial Business Forum. And the topic of our panel is how reliable, dispatchable energy underpins growth, economic, and national security. As we know, energy is the enabler of everything we do. Energy is not a sector of the economy. It is the sector that enables all of our economies. Energy is life, indeed. This panel could not be more timely. Industrial growth, electrification, the rise of AI, and growing manufacturing are driving electricity and energy demand across the region and around the world. Governments and businesses must act strategically to ensure that they can meet this new demand and that the energy they provide is reliable, affordable, and secure, especially secure in this moment. The panel will cover the role of different energy sources and the constituent supply chains in meeting rising energy demand across the region. I'd like to kick off the panel by having each of my panelists introduce themselves. Balaji, I'd like to turn it over to you first.
Well, thank you, Audrey. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I am Balaji Krishnamurthy. I lead Chevron's business in Australia. Chevron is one of the largest global energy companies. We have a footprint across the entire value chain, upstream, midstream, downstream, selling crude oil, gas, natural gas, LNG, and refined products. In Australia, we have two very large LNG developments that contribute nearly 6.5% of the global LNG to the market. And together with our position in United States and Africa, we are proud to be providing one of the leading energy sources supply into Indo-Pacific region, particularly Japan. And it's a really important conversation we are having here today. So I want to thank the US government and the Japanese government for organizing this panel. So look forward to the conversation.
Good morning, Ohayo gozaimasu. My name is Daniel Lippman. I go by Dan. I have the responsibility for Westinghouse's global new reactors business, with taking care of those transactions. Westinghouse, for those of you that don't know, has been purely in nuclear energy for quite some time and involved since the very beginning of the nuclear age. And we have very significant activities ongoing, of course, in the US, Europe, and in the Indo-Pacific region. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Robertson. Thank you to the Japanese METI, US DOE, and USTDA for convening this gathering of the leaders that are before me. Thank you, Excellencies. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Kobos, Accelerate Energy. We're a US-based LNG infrastructure company. We focus on the downstream. We have all kinds of assets that help get LNG into markets that have never had it or markets that wish to expand. Those vary from our FSRUs, or floating terminals, which have about 55 million tons of regas capacity, which are deployed globally, LATAM, Caribbean, Europe, Middle East, South and Southeast Asia. Also power plants providing pull-through. We even truck LNG. We'll do whatever you need to get it to your doorstep and in your market and open up your market. We like to think that our business, simply put, is energy security, and we can get into that discussion further. I know energy security is front and center with everyone's minds here. We have two assets in the Gulf, Persian Gulf, that are currently providing energy security for our clients there. And obviously the safe and well-being of our men and women of our crew are front of mind for me. But we are doing what we do every single day, and that's providing reliable security for countries.
Good morning, everyone, and mabuhay. I'm Joby Bacordo of the Philippines Department of Energy. Among the more important tasks that I'm given as a Department Undersecretary is as a co-chairperson of the Nuclear Energy Program Coordinating Committee of the Department. And also, I'm the focal person of the department in ensuring the development of offshore wind ports. I am also the focal person for Bangsamoro government concerns, among others. Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you for those introductions. Let's jump right in. Given the activities over the last several weeks, hydrocarbons have been obviously a focus of conversation, a focus of major attention around the world. I'd like to turn to our two panelists in the hydrocarbon world, Balaji and Stephen. Could you give us some perspective on how you see the events in the Middle East?
I'm happy to start. Similar to many in the room, we are monitoring the situation very closely as it continues to remain very volatile. In situations like this, our first and foremost priority is the people that we have in the region. We have a workforce in a dozen or so countries in that region, and we're working with local governments to protect our people, the assets that we operate, and the local communities in which we live. This region, the Middle East region, supplies a significant portion of the global energy supply today. Nearly 20% of the LNG comes from Qatar, and another 20% roughly or so on the crude oil side comes from the same region. So it is, as expected, there is a significant concerns around energy supply, energy security in the rest of the globe. It just shows how interconnected we are as a market, particularly from an energy market perspective. And here we are in the Indo-Pacific region. It's home to 2/3 of the world's population, home to some of the vibrant and fastest growing economies in the world. And unfortunately, this region, relatively speaking, is scarce in having energy resources within the country's borders. So by definition, it makes these countries depend on others, trusted allies, to provide that energy source to meet the basic needs of people and the economy here. And to me, it underscores the importance of energy abundance. I know Secretary Burgum talked about that at length in his opening remarks. We need to prioritize investing in energy to create energy abundance, not just for a particular nation's prosperity, but also for shared prosperity and mutual gain. We need to invest in diverse sources of energy so that we have the energy security that comes from diversity. And we also need to work to protect the value chains and the critical supply chains that are critical for those energy infrastructure.
Thank you, Balaji. Stephen, what are your thoughts on the Indo-Pacific?
Well, you bet the interrelationship with the Middle East is front of mind. And frankly, Accelerate's been in the region there since we opened up Kuwait to LNG imports back in 2008. So it is an important region, and we are seeing knock-on effects, obviously. But this is a group of leaders out here. You are thinking about what comes next. You are focused on strategy. We will get through the tactical adjustments that will come over the next few weeks, and I do believe this is a matter of weeks and not months. I think we must keep a view of the big picture in such circumstances. Big picture is that LNG, and we do focus on getting LNG to the people of the world, all over the world. LNG is a unique commodity. You're looking at something that is going to expand by 50%, let's call it, over the next 5 years. An unprecedented expansion. So if we look past the near-term horizon, the question you have to ask yourself in the Indo-Pacific is, how are you going to access that wave of abundance and affordability? And what we've seen as we've built out energy security for people, the beautiful thing about LNG, it's so flexible. You are not dependent upon a single neighbor and a pipe from that neighbor. We're in Finland. I know it's not in the Indo-Pacific, but when its pipeline, the Baltic Connector, was severed, their only backup nat gas for the winter of 23-24 was Accelerate Energy's floating terminal. So you must find a way to diversify from unreliable partners, unreliable neighbors. Some people have different needs in the region. There's a lot of need for baseline energy. It's not a question of which molecule to dispatch next. In many of the emerging markets which we serve, it's most critical that they get that baseline energy. LNG is great for that, but LNG is also great for a more developed market as you go down the road, and you need backup, and you need plan B, and you need plan C. And that could be because you're a hydroelectric dominated country and you face drought. That could be an unreliable neighbor by pipeline. But LNG is this marvelous tool that is coming with this outstanding abundance, and you should all be challenging yourself as to how to access that in the most effective manner, but mainly because energy security at the end of the day is survival.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. So I'd like to turn to you, Joby. The Philippines has projected a tripling of energy demand by 2040. You are also the chair of the ASEAN region, which is projecting a quadrupling. Can you speak to us about how you're thinking both the region and your country are going to meet that demand?
Thank you, Audrey. The Philippines recognizes that the energy demand will at least triple by 2040 in light of economies expanding, populations growing, and the deepening of electrification. Under the Philippine Energy Plan of 2023 to 2050, we have a three-pronged strategy. That is first the accelerating of the RE deployment, diversifying the energy mix, and also strengthening the regional cooperation. On accelerating the RE deployment, in our Philippine Energy Plan, our intent is to increase the RE share in the power generation mix to 35% by 2030 and 50% by 2040. But first, we have to, in order to achieve this, we have to scale up RE through competitive procurement mechanisms like the Green Energy Program. This policy enables the rapid deployment of solar, wind, and hydro, and geothermal, while maintaining cost competitiveness in the power sector. We have already completed 4 successful GEA programs starting from 2022 to 2025, which generated 22.2 gigawatts. For the period 2026 to 2035, we are looking at an additional this 10-year program of the Green Energy Program, we're looking at 25 gigawatts, starting with the Green Energy Auction 5 this third quarter. This is the fixed bottom offshore wind technology. We're looking at 3.3 gigawatts capacity. To enable this accelerated RE, we have strengthened key policy mechanisms like enabling 100% foreign ownership for RE technologies. The second is diversifying the energy mix. The present power generation mix of the country is dominated by coal at about 60%. Per our clean energy scenarios 1 and 2, we are introducing offshore wind. We are looking at offshore wind by 2028 and also waste to energy technology by 2028. None of these are existent in the country right now. And we're also looking at nuclear energy by 2032. For offshore wind, currently we have 91 offshore wind energy service contracts with a potential of 68.5 gigawatts. On strengthening regional cooperation, this year the Philippines is the ASEAN chair. We are prioritizing stronger collaboration through the ASEAN Power Grid, which is a flagship regional initiative to interconnect national power systems via cross-border transmission lines and submarine cables. Under the Philippine chairship, we are advancing the operationalization of this enhanced MOU on the ASEAN Power Grid. So as regional planning progresses, the Philippines is projecting physical interconnection with other ASEAN member states by 2040, with broader regional integration envisioned by 2045. So together, these efforts aim to build a more integrated, resilient, and sustainable ASEAN energy system, capable of meeting the rising demand while ensuring that energy remains secure, reliable, and affordable across the region.
Thank you very much. Those are two very different ways to look at the challenges in the region, yet there is a third way to meet the energy demand, and obviously nuclear is back on the main stage and a very exciting part of the energy mix, both in the United States and around the world. But it is not without challenges, both capital costs, regulatory hurdles. I'd love to hear, Dan, you talk a little bit about how you and Westinghouse are looking at the Indo-Pacific region and the role nuclear could play at meeting this rising demand.
Sure, and let me first give a shout out to USTDA for the sponsorship of this very, very important event. TDA plays an ongoing critical role in early stage development in many, many countries through their grants and programs. And Secretary, as a member of the administration, thank you and the rest of your colleagues throughout the administration for what they're doing for nuclear. I've been in this industry a very long, very, very long time, and I've never seen an administration lean in the way it is on nuclear technology. And that segues to your question, because what do we need to do in the industry? And when I say we, I want to be clear. It's not just Westinghouse. In the audience here, there's at least 3 different SMR vendors. There is at least 1 or 2 microreactor vendors that I've run into here. So what we need to do as an industry is, I'm going to use the term industrialize, okay? We build these plants one at a time, but really the key to the success of nuclear energy is to deploy them at scale. And that's what the administration is giving us the opportunity to do, not just in the continental United States, but through export promotion activities that the administration is engaged in. The Export-Import Bank is critical to all of our companies in the nuclear industry in terms of financing these projects. But our challenge as companies is really to fit together the challenges of supply chain, engineering, and labor force, workforce development. Any one of those fail, we're not going to be successful in what we do. And the Indo-Pacific region is critical because already many of our companies, mine and others out here, rely very heavily on supply chains here in Northeast Asia, whether it's Korea or Japan. India has made changes in its nuclear legislation, I'll call it, where they've entered the mainstream of certain legal norms on liability and so forth. They have tremendous capacity. Many of us are already utilizing Indian resources, technical resources, and are looking at manufacturing. But the key to all of this is, how do we deploy? How do we get a handle